Okay, so for this question, you're being asked about the y-intercept. And so we want to remember that when you're looking for the y-intercept, one value that you always know is that x is going to be equal to 0. That's not a very good x, so let's fix that. That should say x equals 0. So if we let x equal 0 in this equation, everywhere there's an x, I'm going to replace it with 0. And I get this equation. And so when x is 0, I now get 0 times -2, which is equal to 0. So the y-intercept for this equation is 0. Then you're asked to find the x-intercepts. So we learned to find the x-intercepts that we would take each of these factors and we would set them equal to 0, and then we would solve using what's called the zero product property. So the first factor is x. I'm going to set that equal to 0. I'm done. There is one of my x-intercepts. For the second factor, x minus 2, I'm going to let x minus 2 equal 0, and I'm going to solve this using addition property of equality. I'm going to add 2 to both sides. So my solution here becomes x is equal to 2. So my other x-intercept is 2. If I was going to write those as an ordered pair, I would write them as x is 0, 0, and x is 2, 0. Those are your x-intercepts. Lastly, they're asking whether or not this function opens up or opens down. Typically, we would like this in standard form so that we could tell what the a value is. So I am going to go ahead and do the distributive property to get this into standard form. So my distributive property means I'm going to multiply everything in the parentheses by the x that's in front of the parentheses. So I am going to get x squared minus 2x. That is now standard form. Notice that I don't have a constant here at the end, but I could replace it with a plus 0. So now I can tell what my a value is. And my a value would normally live right here in front of this x squared. Since there's no number there, we can fill that in with a 1 because it's multiplication. And this is going to be a positive 1, right? There's no negative sign out in front here. So that gives me a positive a value. And we learned earlier on that a positive a value makes the parabola open up, where a negative a value makes the parabola open down. So now you should be able to answer all of the questions that you were given on this problem.